Mr. Baldoni and Ms. Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. Instead, he spoke to Ms. Lively out of character as himself.
Hollywood's golden couple on screen, now embroiled in one of the ugliest behind-the-scenes battles in recent memory. The film adaptation of It Ends With Us was supposed to be a love letter to resilience. Instead, it has exploded into a full-blown media and legal war.
I know for a fact that the mainstream media will lie and they will smear on behalf of their powerful friend. I believe in due process, which is why I always read the facts of the case before accepting the media narrative.
Shitty product with atrocious marketing. You have yourself a disastrous brand that will go out of business.
And that really they're bored and rich. Another circumstance that made me see right through Ryan Reynolds and the kind of person that he is when, despite being friends with Joe Alwyn, who dated Taylor Swift for 5 years, she's best friends with Blake Lively.
With allegations of abuse, harassment, and a coordinated smear campaign. At the center, Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and a cast of celebrities who've chosen sides. But what really happened behind the cameras? And why is Blake Lively fighting not just for her career, but for her truth?
From Armie Hammer, who got fired from Gossip Girl because he said during a dinner that she was a bitch, regarding Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, when I just recognize that they are up on their high horses and that they potentially treat people very bad.
On Blake Lively's claims that she was allegedly harassed by this guy when they shot the movie It Ends With Us, a film about domestic violence. And was Justin didn't harass Blake. Blake was interested in wresting control of this movie away from Justin, who was the director and the producer. She was just an actress in it.
They were plotting with the New York Times for months to smear him, and there may be some important evidence.
Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni, the dark side of It Ends With Us, exposed. In 2023, fans of Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel were buzzing with excitement. The emotional, gut-wrenching love story of It Ends With Us was being adapted for the big screen. Blake Lively was cast as Lily Bloom, Justin Baldoni not only starring as Ryle Kincaid, but also directing the film through his company, Wayfarer Studios.
They shared those together. They concocted a complaint that they filed with the Civil Rights Division. They omitted texts that would have provided context.
But they believed her narrative instantly because the allegations were so strong. And I just kind of held fire because I don't trust the New York Times to save my life.
The kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, documents, which prove exactly what she did to take over the movie.
It had the makings of a Hollywood triumph, best-selling source material, 2 beloved stars, and a powerful message. But cracks began to show even before cameras rolled. According to sources close to the production, Lively was growing increasingly frustrated with what she described as a toxic directorial environment. Whispers of clashes on set, power struggles, and unprofessional behavior began to leak.
Okay, and that's largely due to the fact that she is a modern feminist, and so she has to create struggle where there just isn't any. Okay, well, she filed a civil rights complaint in Los Angeles, and then within 24 hours, the New York Times had the scoop. They published the complaint in its entirety, and it looked suspicious. And this time it is pertaining to the New York Times. Amazing that you're not going to believe this, okay? It looks like Justin Baldoni may have a very strong case against the New York Times.
There's just so much more to this story, and the media's already like self-flagellating. Oh, we were too mean to Blake. And now you see text messages from Blake Lively comparing herself. She's the mother of dragons in Game of Thrones, that she too has her dragons, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift.
Blake didn't feel heard. She felt manipulated, pressured into scenes that felt exploitative, not empowering. Anonymous crew member via legal deposition. But the situation escalated when Lively allegedly discovered that scenes involving sensitive themes, including moments resembling real-life abuse, had been rewritten without her input. Sources say she confronted Baldoni, and what followed would ignite a war that Hollywood insiders are calling the Lively-Baldoni implosion. In early 2024, the whispers became roars. Blake Lively formally filed a harassment complaint against Baldoni, accusing him of creating an unsafe work environment and leveraging his directorial authority in a way she described.
So she says he's been harassing her, and they bring in some team, and he says, whatever you want, I will do it or not do it. You tell me. So they go forward. Well, we move forward in the story, and she's got to go do PR for the film. And she goes out in the summer, this past summer, and she had about 2 minutes of bad PR. A 2009 Glamour UK interview by Blake Lively, and in her interview, she admitted to trying to poison the cast of Gossip Girl, which is where she made her name, against her co-star Penn Badgley, who played her love interest, Dan Humphrey, on the show. She said, "At first I was so upset that they had hired him, I actually poisoned the whole cast against..."
As coercive and humiliating. I was gaslit, silenced, and retaliated against. Excerpt from Blake Lively's official filing, Baldoni denied all allegations, calling them baseless and accusing Lively of trying to sabotage the film. His legal team fired back with defamation claims, framing her as difficult and emotionally erratic. But the damage had been done, and then came Megyn Kelly. On her podcast, conservative commentator Megyn Kelly issued a fiery defense of Lively. Let me tell you something. When a woman like Blake Lively, with a clean reputation, steps up and says she felt unsafe on a film set, we need to listen. This industry is still protecting men in power. Megyn Kelly's...
Absolutely no feelings about this guy, Justin Baldoni. In fact, to be perfectly honest, I reviewed some of his social media, and he seems kind of ridiculous with his toxic masculinity, lamentations, and so on. But that's fine. That's me. So I'm not on his side. But my point is simply, I just don't see it. In their incendiary complaint, where they're trying to do their best to bash him and the PR team, I don't see that the second loop closed of, and then here's where they did it. It's just all supposition. They don't have these great texts saying, look what I got placed in the New York Post. Blake Lively, who I believe thought she would be received or perceived as an Alyssa Milano or Ashley Judd Me Too victim, is instead looking a lot more like Amber Heard. How did that work out? Bad move. And honestly, to me, the lesson is, A, be a good person. But B, if you're a Hollywood star or any sort of a public figure, would you just please take your licks in the press and shut up about it? People have real problems.
Comments went viral. Overnight, the narrative shifted. Fans, critics, and even fellow celebrities began to take sides, and one name kept resurfacing: Ryan Reynolds. As Lively's husband, Reynolds had largely remained silent, but a cryptic tweet.
He is at the 2022 Forbes Power Women's Summit.
I would show up on a set. I knew that they just wanted me to show up and look cute and stand on a little pink sticker where I'm supposed to go and say what I'm supposed to say. But I also knew that that wasn't fulfilling for me, that I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing and the costume design and creating the character. And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that and invite that once they saw that I was able to offer that. And sometimes I would have people who really resented that because they were like, we just hired you to be an actor. Yet when I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled. So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're like, you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do.
So she's a serial fraudster.
Some things aren't worth staying quiet about. Send the internet into a frenzy. Was Reynolds preparing to go to war for his wife? Just when it seemed the media circus couldn't get any bigger, Taylor Swift entered the chat. A longtime friend of Lively, Swift reportedly offered private support and strategic advice. Industry insiders claim Swift even helped Lively retain a powerhouse PR firm to shift public sentiment. Suddenly, carefully worded statements began appearing. Leaks to outlets like Variety and Rolling Stone painted Lively as a woman betrayed. An actress forced into silence, now ready to reclaim her voice. The public began to listen. And Baldoni, he started to disappear from promotional materials.
Lively did not even read the book that the movie was based on.
Correct.
And we're not talking War and Peace. And then she wanted to, ixnayed all of the wardrobe choices, because when you're making a movie about a poor woman who's suffering from domestic violence, you want her to look like she has money.
Right.
That Blake said.
That's what she did.
She looks like she has money.
Yep.
And she's dressing in florals. And then she's going on this press tour, pushing her liquor line and her hair care line, because that's what women who are trying to escape with their lives are worried about.
That's what generated her negative press and led to a series of clips of her being insensitive in one way, shape, or form with other interviewers. in the past. She has no one to blame but herself for that.
The press tour is part of that pay package.
Right.
You have to show up with a smile on your face and be polite to people.
Then came the bombshell audit. In March 2025, an internal whistleblower at Wayfarer Studios released emails allegedly showing executives discussing optics control and plans to leverage media outlets against Lively. We need variety on our side.
In Blake's lawsuit, she says that Justin wanted her to remove her blazer to see her in her onesie that she was wearing, and that he told her that this would be a sexier look, or that she looked sexy, and she felt very uncomfortable about this, okay? So apparently what actually happened is that, according to Justin's attorneys, he suggested she take off her big coat so that her onesie would be visible in the scene because it will be hot, because it was 90 degrees in the small bar with no air conditioning. Lively mischaracterizes this in her complaint as Baldoni referring to her as hot, not, the temperature. Given that Lively herself had earlier expressed to him that she wanted her character's wardrobe to be sexier, Baldoni encouraged her to accept direction by saying, "It's sexy."
She can't be allowed to tank this movie? Frame it as creative differences. Gaslight if needed. The emails were damning. Baldoni was now not just facing Lively's legal fire, but public outrage over alleged manipulation, gaslighting, and unethical conduct. On April 1st, 2025, Blake Lively sat down for a televised interview. Poised but visibly emotional, she shared her story. It wasn't about the script. It wasn't even about the movie. It was about being stripped of my agency, my voice, and when I tried to speak up, I was punished for it. Baldoni, meanwhile, released a pre-recorded rebuttal. But the damage was done. Public sentiment had shifted, and the entertainment industry was now watching closely, because this wasn't just a legal feud, it was a cultural moment. Streaming platforms began distancing themselves from Baldoni. Netflix quietly shelved a planned project.
That's called fraud. When you pretend you want to do the one thing and you'll do the thing they're hiring you for, but all along you have secret plans to do something very, very different that's above your pay grade. And she finally bumped into someone who was weak enough and not famous enough to stop her, right? This Justin Baldoni, most people had never even heard of him. He'd been in like one series. He certainly wasn't at Ryan Reynolds level fame, never mind Blake Lively. And she bullied him into giving her the movie where she did her own cut. They released the cut of the movie. He didn't even get to see it. He was the director of the film, the producer of the film, the guy who got the rights to the film, the one who's supposed to be in control. He didn't even get to see it. He was in the basement at his own movie premiere. And then she had the nerve, because she had 2 minutes of bad publicity when the film hit.
The set was supposed to be a dream, a book beloved by millions, a major studio backing it, and two of Hollywood's most charming stars, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, at the helm. But behind the closed doors of It Ends With Us, a storm was brewing, and it was only a matter of time before everything exploded. At first, the press called it chemistry. Blake and Justin, constantly in each other's orbit, deep in discussion, late-night script meetings, and off-the-record dinners. But sources close to the production say it was never just work. From the very beginning, there was tension, creative, at first, then personal, the kind that simmers until it boils over. Justin Baldoni, known for his activism and heartthrob status, had pitched himself as the perfect male lead and executive producer.
She alleges that she's a Me Too victim there. That's absurd. Watch it. They're acting like lovers.
And my nose is so big.
I was hoping that we could address this. It's not too late.
Okay, there. Okay, so he puts his head in her neck.
I'm getting beard on you today.
And says, "Am I getting beard on you?"
It smells good.
Well, it's not that. It's the body makeup.
Well, they're doing that because they are in character, and they are trying to make it look for the camera like they love each other. Now she wants a complete gag order. Why should Justin be able to release snippets to the media without the full context? That's what she said. That's
producer. But crew members allege his involvement wasn't just professional. Some say he used his position to exert control, blurring the line between collaboration and coercion. Blake Lively, always poised, always in command of her image, wasn't having it. She reportedly challenged Justin on everything, from scene, rewrites to casting choices. Insiders claim she felt undermined, even targeted, as if she were being set up to fail. That's when the emails started leaking. Private memos, passive-aggressive notes. Justin allegedly questioning Blake's ability to carry the emotional weight of the character. Blake firing back, demanding respect, accusing Baldoni of trying to railroad her performance. It was a war.
I challenge you to see if you can use the same qualities that you feel make you a man to go deeper into yourself. And will you be man enough to stand up to other men when you hear locker room talk, when you hear stories of sexual harassment, when you hear your boys talking about grabbing ass or getting her drunk? Will you actually stand up and do something so that one day we don't have to live in a world where a woman has to risk everything and come forward to say the words "me too"?
This is going to be really awkward if these allegations are true.
I will say, just for the record, I'm not a fan of either of these individuals, and something about both of them rubs me the wrong
of egos. But for Blake, it became something more. She began noticing strange patterns. Paparazzi showing up at private rehearsals, tabloids printing twisted versions of on-set conflicts, and then a headline. That crossed the line. Blake's breakdown, lively struggling to hold it together on set. The article cited anonymous crew members who described Blake as difficult and emotionally erratic. Blake was livid. She launched a quiet investigation, hiring a private PR crisis team. What they uncovered was damning. The leak had come from someone inside the production, and the digital fingerprints pointed back to Baldoni's camp. When confronted, Justin denied everything. He painted himself as a victim.
Those who are not in the Hollywood world, what is wrong with her taking over the film?
I've never seen it before in my 30-plus year career in Hollywood. And an executive producer is below a producer in the film world. An executive producer signed up to be an executive producer, and that's it. As the time progressed in this film, she decided that she wanted to be a producer. She started to make edits. She wanted to be part of the editing team. There were people hired, like human beings actually hired to do the editing job, who had done work as editors. She wanted to be part of that team. The next thing you know, she took over the editing. She started making threats that she wouldn't promote the movie, that she wanted to be in control of marketing of the movie, that she would do nothing in terms of promotion unless she was the actual
victim of studio politics, claiming he was being scapegoated for production delays. But the damage was done. Blake pulled out of promotional duties. Rumors spread of heated arguments, threats of legal action, and studio. Executives scrambling to contain the fallout. And then Blake did something no one saw coming. She lawyered up. In a 94-page complaint filed under seal, Blake Lively alleged a coordinated smear campaign, workplace harassment, and reputational sabotage. The target? Justin Baldoni and members of his producing team. Her legal team accused them of manipulating media narratives to gaslight and discredit her, all while securing favorable edit control over the final cut of the film.
Congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
Did you guys love wearing those kind of clothes that you...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, working in digital...
Everyone wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes.
I would.
Yeah, it's not just the women that have the clothes.
But
I feel like the women
Victoria-
get the conversation.
Justin's team hit back hard. A $400 million countersuit citing breach of contract, defamation, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. It was no longer just a film dispute, it was war. Ryan Reynolds stood by her. Quietly at first, then publicly. Tweets, veiled shade, even pulling out of a potential Netflix deal involving Baldoni.
These great Louboutins that are also a close-up on them when we're dancing in the bar. Those are mine. I have a few of my husband's shirts and socks randomly in the movie. I have some of Gigi Hadid's sweaters in the movie.
What an incredible summer you're having. I feel like you poured a lot into this movie, but then you turned around and you were just as supportive of Ryan. Yeah. What is it like to...
And my hair care company, Blake Brown, my goodness gracious. It's been crazy. It's been a crazy week. I haven't slept in like a lot of time.
Taylor Swift unfollowed Baldoni on Instagram. Megyn Kelly, never one to shy away from controversy, aired a 15-minute segment dismantling Hollywood's double standards and defending Blake's decision to fight back. The New York Times picked up the story. America's sweetheart versus the progressive prince, when good PR isn't enough. Think pieces followed. Was Blake Lively a victim of misogyny disguised as collaboration? Was Justin Baldoni the latest figure to be exposed under Hollywood's golden facade? Producers attempted to salvage the film, re-editing scenes, delaying the release. But fan response was divided. A stand with Blake trended. Justin's supporters launched Nunk Justice for...
He burst in on me uninvited when I was breastfeeding my child. She says we should run lines together. He's like, anytime. And she's like, come on over. I'm breastfeeding the baby in the trailer, but come on over. So it's like it's written there, black and white. She invited him in, and a lot of women are comfortable having someone around when they breastfeed. So it's not so weird, especially out in Hollywood. Justin's business partner, who is a producer of the film, and he showed her a still shot from his wife's delivery of their child, which I've also seen. You can't see any R-rated parts at all. It's actually a really lovely artistic photo of a husband with his arms around his wife in a bathtub and the baby on top of the wife. The alleged fat shaming that Ryan Reynolds went off on him over, that's all over her lawsuit that he's been excoriated for in the press, the left-wing press, was when he went to it was either his trainer or her trainer or the trainer on the set. And he asked how much Blake weighs. And that it was like, how dare he, right? How dare. Turns out Justin Baldoni, this has been documented, has serious disc issues and was actually in the hospital for like 2 months after this film wrapped because of his disc issues and was worried because he had to pick her up in a...
Baldoni. A film about abuse and recovery had become the epicenter of a real-life media war. And then, more leaks. Voicemails, unreleased footage, an audio recording allegedly capturing Justin venting about Blake's power trip. Her team claimed it was proof of his intent to destroy her credibility. His team said it was doctored. Whispers started about NDAs being violated, threats of criminal investigation into tampering. The Directors Guild quietly stepped in to mediate. But the damage was irreversible. The film eventually dropped quietly with minimal fanfare. Critics called it muted, confused, tainted by off-screen drama. Blake didn't attend the premiere. Justin did, alone, all smiles for the cameras. But the sparkle was gone. Hollywood insiders now use the Blake Baldoni fallout as a case study, how fast reputations can unravel, and how in the age of social media, the truth doesn't matter as much as the narrative.